Hey, what's up everyone? Today I'm going to teach you how I go about painting my version of Eternus. If you don't know, I've been painting up my army as a Dark Mirror of Bretonnia, so this is going to be my equivalent of a Green Knight. So we start with a white prime, and then we go with a base coat of Dollar Roundy lemon yellow ink. You can apply this with an airbrush, or you can apply it with the hairy brush, but I just decided to do it with an airbrush because it's what I have access to. From there, you're going to grab Vallejo Livery Green. This is also a pretty yellow green. And you're going to spray this towards the edges of each armor panel. If you've seen the ice video or you've seen the molten armor video, it's similar to that in that you want the center of each armor panel to be the brightest color. So you can see here it's pretty subtle, but the centers are a little more yellow. You can see it a little bit more clearly here with the face, where that lemon yellow is showing through a little bit more than that livery green. You are mostly going to cover this lemon yellow though. Then you're going to grab Liquitex Vivid Lime Green. This is an ink that has a little bit more of a green as opposed to the previous yellow. And again, you're going to aim this towards the edges of the armor panels, covering up a good amount of that previous livery green, but not all of it. You're trying to create a gradient here of essentially like warm yellow to cold greens. We've got a few more colors to work through here, but that's the basic gist of it. Then you're going to grab Carandra's Green, which is a contrast paint. And again, towards the edges or any areas where, when we were doing the molten video, these areas would be considered cold areas, where maybe the heat is less intense. I don't know what, green heat is, but I don't know, maybe it's Warpstone or, I don't know, nuclear energy, comic nuclear energy or whatever. But cold areas should be a darker green is the gist of it. So this is just about the end of the airbrushing. This is what you should look like. It's not crazy good looking or anything, but and then for the final area you're going to grab Dark Angel's Contrast. This is a pretty stark jump. Think of this as the burnt areas. This is where the green energy has really started to cool off. It's less molten, less hot. Then you're going to grab AK Interactive Gloss Varnish. This is just to help us with the next step. And actually, I guess additionally, some of those inks are kind of fragile, so it's good to have a layer between. But the main reason is that we want to, pretty soon we're going to be doing some pin washing. But before we get to that, we're going to do Citadel Caliban Green. We're going to be dry brushing this, focusing mostly on the edges of the armor panels. Obviously, you're going to have a little bit of some of that dark green go into some of your, the lighter green areas, but you want to focus on the edges. Here we go. You can especially see it on the horns of that face on the front. Why we're doing that. It gives that nice crispy burnt edges that we're looking for. You're going to do the same thing with Vallejo Air Dark Green, and I say Vallejo Air Dark Green because Vallejo Dark Green, if you get it from the game color line or the model color line, it's a different color. Make sure you get the Air. But it's the same idea. Focusing this on, think of this as the coldest of the cold areas. This is areas where it's basically black. In fact, we're going to come in with some black later on. But think of this as the coldest the green will get. Make sure you get the weapon too. You can notice I'm leaving the center of that weapon a bit more of a glowing color there. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already liked the video and you enjoy these type of tutorials or you learn anything from them, we'd appreciate the usual stuff, the like and subscribe, share, tell your friends, all that stuff. And here's the black I mentioned. Edges, right? Coldest areas. I'm sure I sound like a broken record here. But I feel like this step is pretty necessary. You really do need that, that stark contrast between that lemon yellow, that super bright lemon yellow, and that black. I did end up going with another gloss varnish here just to help with the panel lining. So I have a thinned down snow white oil paint. Any white paint will do as long as it's bright white. And you're going to put this on in every recess, or at least every recess of the armor. You don't need to worry about the horse itself. And this is going to end up being we're going to end up filtering over this with some yellows and greens to make this look like a bit of a glow as well. Consistency, I can't give you an exact number, just think wash consistency. It's hard to give exact ratios with this kind of stuff. But yeah, every recess you can get into, You're going to have to let this dry for a little bit. I use Abtalung 502 Snow White, and that's supposed to have a pretty quick dry time. But even then, I would probably leave it, overnight. You probably want to do this at the end of a hobby session so you can let it sit for a while and totally cure. Make sure you really focus on this front face. This is a pretty big focal point for the model. So making sure you get the glow right on this demonic armor face is, it's worth putting a little bit of extra effort into making sure that comes out all right. All right, so this is what it looks like when you've got the white glowing. Not exactly the best looking thing, but we're going to come in with some fluorescent paints. So this is Vallejo green and yellow fluorescent. If I could go back, I would probably use an ink because those are a little bit more saturated. But you're going to do a 1-to-1 mix, and you're just going to spray this over those whites. It's going to look nice and bright because of that white oil panel lining we had done earlier. And yeah, that's how you get this nice glow coming from the recesses, which is kind of a weird, ethereal, magical look. It's not really a natural thing. Normally you'd associate these areas with shadow and shade, or like recess washing with like grime and stuff like that. So this helps to really sell the effect. Now with this tutorial, you're going to have to do a lot of back and forth. I don't film it all because it's not interesting, but now that I've told you all the steps, what you really need to do is you need to go back and forth and adjust your taste. So what you can see here is I'm going back with that Liquitex Carbon Black because I ended up covering a lot of that of the black when I had done the fluorescent colors. So here you go. This is just about where you want to be. Again, the big takeaway is go back and forth and adjust. It's not a one and done type of deal with this scheme. But what we want to do is we want to really emphasize a couple of these glow points. So I go in with a white ink. Any white paint will do. I like white ink because it's pre-thinned right out of the bottle. And then you're going to just glaze over these with lemon yellow and vivid lime green, a 1-to-1 mix. You can also do straight lemon yellow if you want more of a yellow look. But this should help really make these appear even brighter, right? There's more of that white showing through because you're glazing it on. You're not just laying it like the previous ones. It doesn't look like that right now because it's still wet, but when it dries, they'll be a bit brighter. And then you're going to grab Vallejo Black, and so any of those areas, those edges you didn't quite get, you weren't able to, fully get the edge defined on, just going with a brush. You shouldn't have to do this with a ton of them because you dry brushed it, but there are some areas where, I was a little afraid because I had some really bright yellows. I didn't want to redo them. So go back with a brush and just add a little bit of you don't need to do perfect edge highlights. You're going to do kind of a chipping style, almost scratching the edges. And then when you're done with that, you should be left with this. All right, here we go, and here is our glowing green knight. You might have noticed I didn't cover how I painted the horse in this tutorial. I've covered it in a couple other videos, so I didn't think it was really necessary for this one. But if you enjoyed this tutorial, I hope you got something good from it. We'd appreciate, letting your friends know, letting your enemies know as well. And, anyway, appreciate you stopping by. See you later. Bye-bye.